Bucs Nation? Welcome back to another edition of Major Keys with your boy, Sammer. Check it out. The Bucs play San Francisco 49ers in Week 14. And while it looks like a crazy matchup against an insanely hot team in the 49ers, I think there are three major keys to a Bucs victory. Let's fucking go.
Major key alert. Oh, we good now?
My first major key to a Bucs victory out in San Fran this weekend is simple. Actually, probably not that simple. My first major key is the Bucs have to figure out a way to slow down a defense that is on an absolute fucking tear. These guys at one point went 4 straight games with second half shutouts, including a full game shutout of the New Orleans Saints when they beat them 13-0. But in that same span, they've gone up against the Rams, the Chargers, the Cardinals, and the Dolphins and held all of them to 17 or fewer points. So these guys know a little thing or two about stopping opposing teams' offenses. And the way they do it is stopping your run and getting after your quarterback. Whether Joey Bosa plays or not, which accounts for 14.5 sacks, by the way, these guys still know how to get after you. They keep you from running the ball effectively, holding their opponents to 75 or fewer rushing yards in every single game so far this season. And they barely give up passing yards because they have an amazing duo of safeties. They have great linebacker play, and they know exactly how to get after the quarterback once they've made you abandon the run. But there are weaknesses. They have a corner or two that probably isn't as good as the rest of the crew on defense, and that's where you really want to get after them. The way to do that, get the ball out of Tom Brady's hands quickly and get it out of his hands effectively. Meaning, let's run some screens. I'd love to see a screen early on in this game to kind of make these guys slow down their pass rush, think a little bit. You got to get this defense to think and slow down. If you can do that with quick hitches, quick little routes here and there with the receivers, not the wide receiver screen we've seen a million fucking times, some man beaters, things of that nature, because they have a linebacking core in Greenlaw and Fred Warner, who are absolute tackling machines. These guys are both Pro Bowlers at this point. And of course, they have Hufanga, 4 interceptions from the safety position, but he's by far their best player in the secondary, so you have to be aware of him. But again, you can beat them if you can attack their corners and keep Tom Brady upright. So they must figure out a way. Byron, Tom Moore, Tom Brady, anybody who's in that fucking meeting room game planning for this game, they have got to figure out a way to slow down this defense, especially the pass rush, and hopefully come up with some creative ways to also attack them. That's my first major key.
Major key alert. Oh, we good now?
My second major key to a Bucs victory on the West Coast this weekend, the 49ers rushing attack has to be stopped. That means the Bucs have to win in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. They have a 3-headed monster in San Francisco, starting with CMC, Jeff Wilson, and of course, Deebo Samuel. They each have 2 touchdowns on the season. That's 6 total touchdowns between the 3 of them, and they know how to run it. They get creative. They have a lot of eye candy that make your linebackers stop and think for a quick second, which usually opens up running lanes. So Akeem Hicks, Vita Vea, and Will Golson, these guys are going to be huge factors in this game because they have to stop the run, which the Bucs have done very, very well since the return of Akeem Hicks. So this game, one of the highlights will be these guys coming up with a way to stop the run, because once you stop this run, you basically neuter this offense, because everything in a Shanahan offense runs through their running game. If you can slow that down, Jimmy G or not, you will force them to play with a little bit less firepower because they don't really function without the ability to make you think. And if you can make them one-dimensional early on, you can force this rookie quarterback to do things he may be uncomfortable with. Remember, he may be Mr. Irrelevant. He has some moxie. He played well last week when he came in and nobody kind of expected him to. But when there's tape and you're a rookie, it's your first ever start, you're not really supposed to be anybody unless you're Tom Brady and you're Mr. Irrelevant. This is not an easy task. Regardless of the Bucs' history against rookie quarterbacks, this is a big fucking moment for this kid. And I don't care how purdy he throws a ball, he will have to be playing his best game possible as a rookie against a Todd Bowles defense who's going to try to confuse him, is going to get after him. But more importantly than that, we won't see him play ugly unless we stop their run game. So my second major key, the Bucs have to win in the trenches against the 49ers rushing attack.
Major key alert.
Oh, we good now?
My third and final major key for a Bucs victory against the 49ers this Sunday sounds a little simple, but it's been pretty fucking difficult all season long. And that's, it's time for the offense to turn these red zone trips into touchdowns and not field goals. Your first drive, scripted, gets you down the field. Too often this season, those have turned into field goals. We can't have 3 points this week. We have to get 6. Of course, the extra point from fucking Ryan Suckup, but we have to get touchdowns when they matter. If we get turnovers, we got to turn those into touchdowns. The more points, the more success, how my boy would say, right? So the basic notion here is if we can get ahead of the 49ers, it'll force them to abandon their run a little earlier or sooner than they want to. It'll make them one-dimensional, which will play into our hands because, again, they have a rookie quarterback like we talked about previously, and you're forcing him to beat you not only with a passing game, but also a short passing game. The Niners don't stretch the field. They don't take a lot of shots down the field. These guys aren't running 15, 20-yard post routes. They're usually running shorter routes to get the ball out of their quarterback's hand, whether it's Jimmy G, whether it's Trey Lance, whether it's Purdy. They're getting the ball out of this guy's hands quickly and putting in the hands of their playmakers to make plays, short crossing routes. They run a lot of screen plays, a lot of rub routes, man beaters that put the ball in the hands of the playmakers and let them do what they do best. So the Bucs have to convert their drives from field goals into touchdowns and force this 49ers defense to try to nickel and dime their way down the field and get out of their comfort zone. Because, again, it's a rookie quarterback. So my third and final major key for the Bucs to win this weekend, which seems pretty fucking obvious, score some fucking points. Listen, this game seems like a juggernaut, especially how the season has gone. But this is a matchup that I think the Bucs will be ready for, especially Tom Brady. And I think if they can get creative with how they prepare and game plan and kind of go back to a little bit more of what they did when they were in Germany against a team like the 49ers, who, by the way, are not invincible. The Saints defense, very similar to our defense, they held them to only 13 points. So if they can check off some of these major keys, play a little bit like what the Saints did and slow this team down, I think we have enough firepower and we have Tom Brady the GOAT. Regardless of how he's been playing, we have enough to overcome what this 49ers team is, and their strengths play against our strengths, running versus stopping the run. So I think we should have a fairly good game. I think I'm pretty confident that we're going to pull this one out and surprise a lot of people. Go Bucs.
I got the keys.